With YouTube attacking alternative media, please consider supporting the channel via Patreon for just $1 per month. Link below. I want to talk about this group of DC fans plan to sabotage the Black Panther's Rotten Tomato score. And I, of course, obviously, first and foremost, I'm 100% against this thing happening. I am. And I am because I find it to be just a ridiculous, dumb waste of time. And the people who are obviously involved will hear me say this and probably reference me on Facebook as they've done the last couple times I've referenced them. But ultimately, you know, I'm also kind of in favor of this only because I want Rotten Tomatoes prominence to be destroyed. I do. I'm not a Rotten Tomatoes fan. I don't like it. I feel as an aggregate site, it's definitely biased, as we've seen. It's you know, co-owned by Warner Brothers, or I think it's owned by Warner Brothers, or they have a stake in it or something. And other studios, you know, they use it as part of their marketing tactic. And I'm not a fan of that. And so ultimately, if you had to ask me whether or not we should keep Rotten Tomatoes open, no, destroy it, demolish it, tear it down. Well, in this case, you know, Control-Alt-Delete. But anyway, it says here, Black Panther hasn't even reached theaters yet, but a small group of infuriated DC fans have come together in an effort to make sure that the Marvel film receives a low audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. It's not that they're DC fans. That's the thing I think people are mixing up here. They're trying to create a Marvel versus DC war. That's what they're ultimately trying to say. And a lot of these headlines and articles I've seen talk about this. But the people involved here, this Facebook group by the name of Down with Disney's Treatment of Franchises and Its Fanboys, has nothing to do ultimately with DC. A lot of this has to do with Star Wars. These are the same guys that are like down with Star Wars, you know, and the new movies because of how they took out the EU. It's like the same group of people. So I don't think it has anything to do with DC fanboys. But they're going to argue that as a way to keep spurring this war between the two groups, which is just ridiculous because how many people who like DC movies go see Marvel and vice versa? We all kind of go see these movies. It's just, you might have a preference, but ultimately it's kind of dumb. Now, it says that it recently created an event on the social media site called Give Black Panther Rotten Audience Score on Rotten Tomatoes that currently has 3.7 thousand participants, and an additional 1,800 people are interested in the event. Now, looking over here just at the Twitter account that they're referencing, this is the meme they're popping around. Give this rotten score on Rotten Tomatoes. Hashtag DC over Marvel. Hashtag bring down Disney, hashtag fuck Marvel Studios. Now, obviously, trying to use the DC over Marvel thing here is clearly going to be, it's a freaking red herring is all it is. They're trying to distract away. But you can see this is the group, 2,000 people are going, you know, February 15th through the 24th. So the first week the film is up, obviously trying to get in there and really just downvote it. Because the movie has gotten a lot of really rave reviews, or at least early reactions, I should say, from the people that went to the premiere the other night. And it looks like it's going to be a wonderful film. I've already got my IMAX tickets. My dad and I are going to go see it. It's going to be a lot of fun. But this is just so stupid. So it says, given the massive success of the audience review rigging on Rotten Tomatoes site for Star Wars The Last Jedi, and due to the sudden rise in those disgruntled with Disney's business practices, among other factors, especially due to the corporate manipulations which created falsified bad press for the DCEU, I feel that it's time to strike back at all those under Disney and bring down the House of Mouse's actions for paying off the critics that hurt DC Comics on film and for other parties affected by them. Again, the DC stuff is a red herring. It's look at the first part here. Okay, given the success of the audience review rigging on Rotten Tomatoes for Star Wars The Last Jedi, which was in fact put forward by a group of people, and they claim this, that they did not like how Disney destroyed the EU and everything else. Like, that is their primary function here. So they're realizing they're just trying to hurt Disney at this point. It's nothing to do with DC movies. You could almost, I mean, okay, like, to be fair, and I will be, I guess you could say, more objective or whatever, but to be fair here, the argument can be made in some cases that the outlets that champion Disney are outlets that tend to kind of crap on the DC movies. That has been seen. And whether or not you are in favor of that or whatever, it does appear to be a very large anti-DCEU bias when it comes from the movie blogging community. Look at how they've treated the fans trying to get the Zack Snyder cut. it can be a problem, and I understand that. But this again, total red herring. So the guy says, I'll be making events like this for Infinity War and the Netflix shows, etc., so we can rally together to truly make a difference. Share this with your friends and all potential sympathizers. So basically, a lot of people out there who are mad at Star Wars are going to try to be, called upon to damage this movie. And it says, P.S. If you want to spread spoilers to Marvel fanboys, use this event platform to inform us of targets. I don't like that at all, man. I'm not a fan of that at all. I don't care for that at all. Spoiling a movie for people who haven't seen it yet is it's a dick move. It is an entirely dick move, and it's completely pointless at this point. Like, what does it accomplish outside of making you feel better? And if you feel the need to spoil a movie for someone who hasn't seen it yet, then you're just a piece of shit. I don't think there's any other way to describe it. Okay. Think about what they're doing here. Going after The Last Jedi's audience score was a way to protest the film. Now, there's a lot of bad about Star Wars The Last Jedi, but there was a couple good parts in it. And there's parts that I'm apathetic over, that I just gloss over when I think of the film. But ultimately, the fans were divided on it, but there was a lot of anger over it. And that anger is now making its way over to the MCU. While the parent company here obviously is Disney, and yes, Bob Iger and company, they do pull the strings. Why go after Black Panther? Like, Black Panther is going to do well. It's already exceeding ticket sales across the board. And all this is just going to do, look, here's the thing. All this whole thing is going to do is simply just make it so people don't pay attention to Rotten Tomatoes, or at least pay attention to the audience score. And ultimately, the audience score, I feel, is the more justifiable of the two. All right. Like, it's people who've seen the movie. I mean, well, you have no idea if they actually have seen the movie or whatever. Since it's not like Amazon, you can have verified purchase. But ultimately, it is people who more or less have seen the movie, and it's the fan reaction. And as we've seen, that I feel gives us a better objective viewpoint, or objective look at the overall quality of the film, rather than the movie bloggers or the film critics, who I feel at this point have become extremely cynical and bitter and angry at the film industry, and probably their own careers to an extent. And as a result of that, they end up kind of lashing out in certain ways. Or hell, who knows? Maybe Disney is in fact paying for them, and this is a way to sniff out the shills. Yeah, it's just, oh, Jesus.